apprentices, acolytes, coming into the Dark Temple. Visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourself. I am Lord Dagovere, and it's so good to see you. How y'all doing today? It's so good. Let's freaking go. Robot Giggles, what the flip? The legend. How y'all doing today? It's so good to see you guys. Apprentices and acolytes, Jedi Connor, SJ, Skywalker Academy, Rebel Soldier Dom, Trent, the freaking legend, James, Aiden, everybody coming into the Dark Temple today to talk about some Star Wars. Can I get for the first time today? Ready up. Inside the chat. Do you guys hear my knuckles crack every time I do that? I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I used to scare people in middle school when I did that. How y'all doing today, baby? It's so good to see you. Win Star Wars. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Thank you so much for joining the chat. Thank you so much, Apprentices and Acolytes. Thank you so much for coming into the Dark Temple, man. How y'all doing today? Guys, it is the last stream before Christmas. Life Day is happening here in the IRL. And I hope you guys are doing it. Can we get some good vibes in the chat? Can we get some ready up? Can we get some let's go? Can we get oh my freaking god? I want to hear your favorite character. Let's go. Got some stuff to talk about today. Not too much. There wasn't a lot of news making their way around the last week. But you know, guys know how obsessed I was with Fate of the Old Republic, baby. I can talk about that all day, but you know, we'll see. But I would love to know what you guys are doing, what kind of takes you've heard, anything that's going around in the Star Wars verse. You guys know how we do it, man. Let's frickin' go.
And not just the men, but the women and the children, too.
Already today? Not just the men, but the women and the children, too. Oh, yeah, man. So how you guys doing, man? I missed you guys. I feel like... Every single time this stream goes on, man, we've been getting better, dude. You know, the last two streams, I don't think it's gonna happen today because the holidays. The last two streams, we were at like 30 viewers the entire time. 20 and 30 viewers. It was insane, actually, that was going on. I couldn't believe it. I really do not expect anybody to show up today because it's literally the holidays. So we'll see what's going on. Jedi Connor in the chat says, I've been watching Nemec videos and edits today. Oh, man, so you're feeling it, dude, huh? Yeah. Yeah, I saw Nemec in Alien Earth. He was a pretty interesting character in there, man. James DC, thanks so much for coming over to the stream. My guy, it's so good to see you. James, I never asked you, what is your favorite Star Wars movie, man? Rebel Dom in the chat says, I've been doing pretty good, man. How are you? So... I would say for about a year now, I've been pretty locked the fuck in with working out again. And it's not that I didn't work out before. I would say 2022 was probably like the worst year of my life. And ever since then, it's been kind of like a bounce back, a rebound. Like I've just been slowly trying to climb my way back up. But I've been locking in content, and I've been locking in with like legitimately, I don't know if you guys could see, trying to like really improve myself. I've been getting like, and this is no joke, I've been getting like 20 to like 16k steps a day on top of like me doing some insane workouts. Now I don't go to a gym, but I have dumbbells and certain things that I utilize here. And it's just about optimization and time management. And I have this like really insane mindset where if I stop for one fucking day, I lose. You know, if I stop when I'm tired or I'm sad or I'm depressed, it's over. You know, I like that mentality. I think that's a very good mentality to go with because you're really going to push yourself as far as you can go, you know, and if you want this shit, you're going to step up. You know, so I've been making content since like 2011, and I don't have like insane goals for this channel, but I've found some amazing people, and I want to continue to bring the best content that I can to them. So we're going to keep doing that, baby, while also getting better in real life. So I'm pretty excited about that. 2026 may be a year, baby, because we got a lot of stuff coming our way, man. Encourage your viewers to do your... Thanks so much, TikTok. Appreciate you talking to me like you're my best friend. Revenge of the Sith or Attack of the Clones? Are you asking me or telling me? But I would have to say Revenge of the Sith for me. It's always Revenge of the Sith. 2005, I saw that in theaters. I was there. I love Revenge of the Sith. Jedi Connor says, "Oh my gosh, Dagovere not trying to show his bicep challenge impossible." It is. It really is. You know, they say that biceps are the pride of a man, and I would say I would agree with that to a certain extent. You know, I mean, if I got them, you know. Rebel Dom says, "Hell yeah, good for you, man. Keep up the grind. Don't let anyone hold you back." Well, that's the whole thing too, Rebel Dom. Don't let yourself hold yourself back. You know, if for anyone that follows me on Instagram, I do this thing, especially on the weekends, because I usually wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and I go running, because those are the days I really go ham with cardio outside of like me doing my actual steps and everything. But I will always post at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when I'm running, you versus you. Always you versus you. You know, and I have all these stupid motivation things on there with like Michael Jordan and Tom Brady and stuff. And I always think about how, like, man, just imagine if you weren't like such an asshole to yourself and you were actually supporting yourself. Imagine if you supported yourself like you support other people. You'd be a pretty strong person. You know, like if you were always on your side. And so that's what I think about. Just imagine if you could do that like 50% of the time. You know, that I think that'd be an insane amount of momentum that you would create for yourself every single day, no matter what's happening in your life. Like, you would probably be pretty, that spirit would be pretty indomitable, you know. Bugsy coming inside the chat. Thank you so much, everybody. Welcome, Bugsy, with a ready up. Thank you so much. Yo, Desbriel, thank you so much for being here, man. I heard Mandalorian and Grogu is going to be a bust in 2026. I don't know what's going to be a bust about it, though, man. I feel like it's if you have that mindset that Mandalorian is going to be a bust, then it's going to be a bust for you. You know, every single movie that I've gone to see recently, every single time that trailer has been on, the whole theater has been shouting and clapping. Now, I will say, do I think Mandalorian is going to be like movie Andor? No, I do not. I do think it's going to be extremely fun, and it's going to do what it does best. I don't think it's going to be anything insane, but I think that if you already are annoyed of Mandalorian, then it's not going to do anything for you, and Star Wars is going to be shit. You know, that's just how I genuinely feel about a lot of those takes. You know, people already hate the Mandalorian, so it doesn't matter. If you hate it, bro, it's like eating peanut butter and jelly every single day. If you get tired of it, then it is what it is, man. We watching Marty Supreme on Christmas Day. What? Oh man, dude, I know the Avatar just came out, and I definitely want to see that. But I'm excited for Mandalorian and Grogu, man. I like Mando and Grogu. I think the trailer looks good. I think it's going to be exactly what it looks like. It's going to be a fun ride. It's not going to be anything compelling that changes the dynamic of Star Wars for the better or evolves it. I just think it's going to be a fun story that Mandalorian does really well. If it's anything near season 1 and 2 quality, it's a success to me. You know, because that's what I want. Skywalker Academy says, as long as the Mando movie is fun, then I'm okay. I just want a fun Star Wars movie. Yes. But for me, it has to be more fun than Skeleton Crew. Because Skeleton Crew was just fun. You know, and I had no attachment to it whatsoever. And although it's a good show, to me, it's just a good show. You know, Mando, I really love. Mando is one of my favorite new characters of Star Wars. I really appreciated it. Even though a lot of people really did not like Season 3, I liked Season 3. It just wasn't as good as 1 and 2. I hope, at the very least, that this movie recaptures what Mandalorian did. And I think that's going to be impossible, because Mandalorian was so good, man. You know, it is. Shara says, hey, man, did you hear about Adam? No. I don't actually. Hang on. Let me see who this is, because I actually don't know who. You might be referring to. I don't actually know who that is, man. I'm so sorry, dude. I apologize. Rest in peace, dude. I'm sorry. Anthony says, "Why can't people just go to any Star Wars and watch the story?" Because but Anthony, you know, that's not the world that we live in these days, man. A lot of people really just want to be convinced that the show is bad, you know, or the show is good. I think there's so many comments always on Twitter replying, Avatar made $358 million globally, and then most of the replies are, "Is it good? Is it good? Is it good?" You know, that's kind of just what we live in, you know. Yo, B-Rad, everybody, welcome B-Rad with a ready up in the chat. Thank you so much for being here, fam. I don't know, man. Like, if you don't like a lot of the Star Wars right now, I don't think you're ever gonna like it, because I think that there's enough Star Wars to make you say, like, okay, this is okay, you know. Like, Andor is amazing. First 2 seasons of Mandalorian are amazing. Star Wars Visions 1 and 3 are amazing, you know. Bad Batch is fantastic. Clone Wars Season 7, amazing Disney product, you know. Rogue One, incredible. Solo, Star Wars story, very good. You know, Skeleton Crew, very, very good. Ahsoka Season 2, but it's also good in certain points, you know. We'll see. 2026 is supposed to be very good. You know, we got Shadow coming out for a Maul, and then we also got Ahsoka Season 2, and then we got Mandalorian Grogu. And then I think we have one more thing that I can't remember. It always skips. But it's going to be like Zero Company, and then probably the pod racing / racing game. 2026 is going to be a huge year for Star Wars. But I think I was actually telling my friend this the other day, is that I don't think the Mandalorian and Grogu is really going to affect whether people like Star Wars more or less. I think what's really going to affect it is the momentum of Season 2 for Ahsoka. If Ahsoka Season 2 is not good, nothing else matters. Oh my God! The Ninth Jedi. Forgot about, yes, Ninth Jedi is about to be peak. And you guys are going to be so mad at me when you find out things next year when it releases. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Ben 10 can beat Darth Vader. Okay. We also got so many things, and I think that first I'll probably get going with the takes today, guys. You guys want to see the takes? We have a few of them, man. We have a few of them, dude. There's some really questionable stuff on here, but we'll have to see. All right, so you guys want to see the first one? I think it's a little crazy. I think it's a little whack. All right, so as you guys know, I go around with all my stuff, and I will screenshot things when somebody says something. So this guy says, being evil or good is purely subjective, by the way. TikTok chat, this guy says, being evil or good is purely subjective, by the way. You know, I think what's interesting is when people in Star Wars are talking about subjective and evil, I think that is a little alarming. Because, like, if, you know, everyone that I talk to usually will say things like, oh, yeah, you know, like, I don't know, man, Thrawn isn't evil, you know, even though he's bombarding, like, innocents. Or, really interesting in the Heir to the Empire is he's basically using one planet as his prison, right? And it's basically genocide, because he's poisoning the planet. He's not telling them that the planet is poisoned, and they're just dying off. They can't even, like, really grow. And they can't even create food for themselves either. But to a lot of people that like Thrawn or support Thrawn, they think that it is subjective, because in Thrawn's belief, he is chaotic good or lawful evil or something, you know, or lawful good, you know. And in my opinion, if you're going to look there and say, like, hey, this guy's doing genocide, but he's still good and it's subjective, I think that perhaps you might need therapy, honestly. That's my genuine opinion. I think that if you're going to look at someone and see the Sith, you know, who basically love creating slaves, and go around and conquer people and use everybody that is weaker than them as a stepping stone, and you say that is subjective, I think perhaps your ideology might be skewed on good and evil. I think it's very clear what is good and what is bad, but I think when people get into this mindset, this, like, edgy mindset, I think it's a little scary for the fandom, you know. And of course, this guy has, like, an imperial profile picture, which, I love the Empire, dude. I love Vader. I love all these characters, but at the same time too, it's a bad guy at the end of the day. The Empire is bad. I don't know, man. I could just be ranting, but I think it's a little whack sometimes. Bugsy says, I think people say that it's subjective as a way to have some very bad ideologies. I think it's a coping mechanism. That's what I truly believe. I think it's a coping mechanism. For instance, like, we always talk about Anakin Skywalker because he's my favorite character, But when I see Anakin Skywalker, I always think about the character that is the manifestation of what you don't want to become. He makes all the wrong choices, But there's a lot of people that will sit there and say, like, hey, what Anakin did, was justified. Killing children, choking out his wife. Yeah. I would have done that too. I was like, oh my God, dude. I don't think I would have done that. I don't know if that's like a really good thing that I would have done. Like, genuinely, like, I don't know, man. I think it can be a little whack how people will go out of their way. But I think we all know. I just think some people just want to have a little bit more attention and say stuff like this. Cyberwolf says, what would happen if Palpatine lost the votes in the election for him to be in charge? And I actually just made a video on this. Thank you so much for bringing that up. So one of the questions that I had that was very similar was whether or not Palpatine, if he lost in the Phantom Menace and Bail won, what would change? I actually don't think too much would change. In fact, I think that Bail Organa would have such a hard time being the Chancellor because Bail has a lot of really great strengths. Bail he's extremely charismatic, right? And he can speak very well. And in that new Reign of the Empire book, that's one thing that Mon Mothma really, really admires about him. But I think two things would be like a glaring weakness, or three things actually, for Bail Organa, and that is like he's extremely emotional and emotionally complex, and I think that would compromise him when things would go well. He is extremely biased to the Jedi, and I think that would work against him in the Senate, in the politics, especially when the Clone Wars is happening and the Separatist Party gets stronger. He would have to lean on Mon Mothma and Padme. Like, Padme would be probably like the person running the show behind the scenes, But at the end of the day, there's just so much corruption in the Republic and in the Senate. And even if Palpatine loses the election, he still has Count Dooku. Plagueis and him have already prepared for so many things. And, the Banking Clan and the Techno Union and the Separatist Party, Count Dooku. I just don't think it works out for Bail, no matter what. I mean, maybe it slows him down a couple years, but Palpatine already has everything planned out. I don't see it too effective. Now, if Padme somehow finds a way to become Chancellor, that's going to be a problem for Sidious. That will be a huge problem for Sidious. I don't think she beats Sidious in politics with the Republic, because I just think there's so much corruption. But that will be very interesting. That would be extremely interesting. Alexa, thank you so much for coming over to the stream. We also have the YouTube stream. Everybody welcome Alexa with a ready up. Says, Bail is a good man, but corruption is too hard to battle no matter what the intentions. Exactly. And I just think the Republic was already gone. And on top of that, you have someone like Mas Amedda that is sitting right there. I don't know how Bail removes that person. Mas Amedda is right there. He's so... oh my gosh, like, obedient to Sidious and everything else that is going on, that he practically praises him for being a Sith Lord. You're going to have to need a whole freaking 60-minute / Netflix documentary about Mas Amedda and the corruption of the entire freaking Senate. It's just going to be a legacy that goes, it's going to be a documentary that goes on for a year. How disgusting that stuff is so corrupted, man. Jesus. But Padme, I think Padme would clean house, honestly. I think Padme would be a problem, man. And you can just go back and watch The Phantom Menace and see where Padme goes back to Naboo, and then Darth Maul is all like, hey, this girl is building this army with the Gungans, and she's going to attack us. And then Sidious is like, oh shit, what do you mean? That's too aggressive for someone that is like 13 years old, like that, and that's a Sith Lord, bro. And he's got Plagueis sitting there as well with him throughout half of the freaking movie. I think it's insane, like how incredible Padme is as a character. And it's really sad that she kind of got nerfed in Revenge of the Sith. Yo, Athena, thanks so much for coming to the stream. And Leon, the legend, thank you so much. Everybody welcome Leon and Athena with Already Up. So good to see you, y'all. What about Valorum? Was he corrupted too? No, I don't think so. I just think he was kind of just there. He was, with Mas Amedda and everybody else, he was probably getting corrupted in some form, but influence. And even Sidious is like letting him know, like, look, oh, there you go. They're going to start talking, and then Valorum goes there. But he wasn't even, I don't know, man. There was nothing happening for him to really handle, and it was already out of his power, man. That guy just goes off and retires at the end of the day and just watches everything blow up before the Clone Wars. So it is what it is. Yeah, Padme is definitely dangerous. Absolutely, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, dude. Oh man, who was the other candidate in the election? Bail Sheev. I just watched it. I can't remember. I can't remember. I could look it up, but I do not remember. Bugsy says, I think even Padme would have become a chancellor. She would have realized how too far gone the Republic was. I think what's interesting is in Revenge of the Sith, where, Anakin is sitting there with her, and they're having these, like, talks where they're completely losing each other. And I actually really hate that about Revenge of the Sith. But she says, what if the side that we've been fighting for is the wrong side the entire time? And I don't think that she would switch sides, because Anakin calls her out and says, you're sounding like a separatist, like you're watching Fox News, And I think that was really low and shitty for Anakin to say that, because, guys, he's already freaking far gone at that point. But I think Padme has a very good understanding that both the Republic and the Separatist are not it. Like, very clearly these ways of the Republic and what the entire galaxy has been using to evolve itself are gone. And perhaps something new was needed. Perhaps something new should have happened. And I think that's what Padme is catching on to. That this doesn't work anymore. This process that we're doing doesn't work anymore. I think that she very similarly is kind of like the Luke Skywalker of senators, where somewhat realizing the old ways don't really work. And I think I really wish that there was more of Revenge of the Sith where you can see and we talk about the concept art of like Padme having the dagger at the end of the day, and she's like the first real inspiration to the rebellion because she tries to stab Anakin Skywalker, right? And I really feel like there was probably like a 5-hour Revenge of the Sith cut, or something of these ideas and animatics that they might have had, where Padme was a little bit more rebellious and challenging to Anakin at the end of it. I just think that she is that character, she's a bad woman. She's, it really is, dude. Long live the Empire. Yo, dude, let's go. Do you think if Padme would still leave the Jedi in charge? But I don't think the Jedi were in charge. The Jedi were just kind of entangled in the politics. I think Padme would be very, how do I say? I think that she would segregate a lot of the politics. It would be, in my opinion, a great reformation. There would be a lot of disconnect. There would be a lot of people upset. I think that she would absolutely have probably dissected and dismantled the entire banking clan, for sure, because they're probably one of the biggest issues with like the entirety of the Republic and its corruption. I think she probably would have went like senator to senator and really started seeing like who was actually a noble person. I would even say that she probably would have had someone like Madame Tucci, like absolutely probably like help her out, because I think that character is another character that is very noble that doesn't really get enough attention to politics and handling things pre and post Empire. Yeah. Yes, exactly, Diet. The Jedi were not. Yeah, they. It's I think what a lot of people don't really understand is like when they watch Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones, they really believe that the Jedi are like, how can I say, the Republic's, man, but they are the Republic soldiers, but they're not. But it's just, I think that the Revenge of the Sith is so political. I think a lot of people have their views skewed of the Jedi because the prequels aren't good movies for who the Jedi are, you know, especially with the character like Anakin. But yeah, I think a lot of people really misunderstand the place that the Jedi have in all of this. I also think that they oversimplify the conflict in the movies with the Clone Wars and how delicate that entire situation is because of Anakin Skywalker and because the scrutiny of the Jedi. It's kind of sad, but that's the world we live in, I guess, you know. Bugsy said the Jedi followed the will of the Republic. They just tried their best. That's all I'm gonna say. They did what they thought was right, and they were wrong, because even Yoda admits that, you know. Diet in the Force says, when we joined the prequels, they were requested by a body politic because of the blockade on Naboo. And as the conflict escalated, the Senate started relying on them more and more. But they weren't the enforcers of the Senate. They mostly handled diplomatic negotiations, which is exactly, as you're saying, what we see in The Phantom Menace. It's the first thing. The ambassadors of the Senate are Jedi, you know. And that whole little dispute starts the entire war, which the more and more I watch The Phantom Menace, and I don't know, you guys could call me out, but I think I think The Phantom Menace is a very underappreciated movie. By the way, everybody welcome Diet in the Force with a ready up. Yo, Stu and TV Socket says The Acolyte is way overhated. Yo, thank you so much, Alexa. I hope you have a good day. Thank you so much. The Acolyte is way overhated. I think The Acolyte is not a good show, but I do think that The Acolyte is overhated. I think The Acolyte was dead on arrival because of Leslie Headland, because of the interviews that they used to show. People were like cutting out. I think it was Amandla, the actress for May, and what's the other one? Osha? Yeah, Osha. They used like an interview from like a TV show that wasn't even a part of Star Wars, and they completely misunderstood what she was saying, but a lot of people just hated it immediately, and it was dead on arrival. So that's what I really disliked about how The Acolyte was handled immediately. But even with how much criticism I have of The Acolyte, I still want to see a season 2. I'm just not in... I don't care how bad the show is, okay? And you guys know me. I am a Last Jedi criticizer. And I don't care how bad, like, you think this idea was for Star Wars. My issue is, if you're going to make this decision that's ultimately going to change Star Wars forever, you need to invest into it. You need to make sure that you're going to invest into it over and over. Because if you're buying this franchise for $5 billion, $4 billion, whatever it was, you know, you think George Lucas would legitimately cancel a show because you think it's bad? And I think canceling the show is dog shit, is a pretty terrible mentality. You know, and yes, that show did not have a lot of great attributes, especially when it came to its decision-making and its execution. But when I look at The Stranger, when I look at The Plagueis, when I look at Master Indara, when I look at Master Soul, you know, when I look at the choreography, there are points of that show that I say, wow. You know, imagine if we could just take this and build on this foundation and create a season 2 that would ultimately bring this show above and beyond and make it exactly what it was always supposed to be. I don't get it, and that's because I don't have billions of dollars that I'm not putting into the money. You know, at the end of the day, these shows are not made to make a good story. They are made to profit. And I think that's ultimately why we see so many issues with production, not just in Star Wars, but with everything else, is because one man is not in charge of this. It is a fountain of people that are trying to make decisions, and do what they can and make their imprint on Star Wars, you know. And it's really sad, too, because Leslie Headland is the type of director that I would like, because she plays Knights of the Old Republic. She plays Star Wars roleplay. She understands the source book. She understands the lore. But I definitely would challenge her on a lot of the choices that she made, you know. But even still, I would not shelve a character like the Stranger for the eternity of Star Wars just because people didn't like the first season, you know. That's my take on that. But I'm just a fucking guy in the room with a clone trooper animatronic, a stormtrooper animatronic. Diana in the Force says, people conflate the position Palpatine masterfully put in the Jedi, and with the Jedi being enforcers, but you give the Jedi a choice between war and abandoning the Republic to war, they are left with two wrong choices. Yes, exactly, and that's why they lost. For sure, man. Thank you, Diane, I appreciate you being here, man. I've been watching your guys' stuff so much more when I've been working out, man. Getting that lore for Pump, and you know how it is, dude. Quincy, thanks so much for coming to the stream. Everybody, welcome Quincy with Already Up. Says, what Star Wars novel do you think should be adapted into a movie or series? I think Dark Troopers. I think Death Troopers should absolutely be adapted into something. I think Death Troopers is a fantastic, unique Star Wars story that a lot of people don't understand. And I think that when you bring a movie like that into Star Wars and you give it an upgrade, right? Because I think that's the other thing too, is like, I think it's really good to have an adaptation, but what's better is if you improve it. So now, not only is this movie better, but it's inspiring people to go back and read what started it. I think that would be really cool because it also opens up a whole new world about the Nell and the iceberg of Star Wars horror. I think that is the end game. But what do I know? I've only worked on a couple productions for certain projects that may or may not have come out, you know? So don't listen to me. They would profit if they told a good story. No, they do not, B-Rad. They do not profit off they make good story. Look at Andor. Do you think Andor made millions and millions of dollars? It did not. Andor is one of the greatest Star Wars shows of all time. It is one of the greatest projects of Star Wars. And I'm also very critical about that because it does not have lightsabers. It does not have the Force. And I'm one of those stupid-ass surface-level Star Wars fans that really needs that in every single show because that's what I feel like Star Wars is to me. But there's a reason why Andor isn't, like, breaking freaking records like The Mandalorian first 2 seasons is, you know, or Game of Thrones, or whatever freaking show that's, like, Arcane, you know? Good story doesn't always work. Amazing story doesn't always work. Production and the fidelity of the resolution and how this stuff works doesn't always work, you know? So many people love Andor, I just don't understand it. Yes, but that's the point, man. So many people love the expanded universe, but not all those people that love it are anywhere near as the great and vast population of the movie-only fans. And that's who you have to click. That's who you have to get. And what people also don't understand is you have to get people that don't watch Star Wars, which is exactly what The Mandalorian did the first 2 seasons. You know, The Mandalorian first 2 seasons was lightning in a bottle. That shit sold so much money because of Grogu and Mandalorian, you know? And I get shit on TikTok all the time when I talk about this, about how Mandalorian is the greatest Star Wars project, probably as like one of the all-time. And you can debate about it because what that did in terms of culture, in terms of global influence, like people who don't even watch Star Wars knew who Baby Yoda was. They also said this is the way. Andor has never done anything like that. Nothing, you know. And that's the difference of like why a show is going to be successful and why it's not, you know. I don't really know how else I can explain it outside of that because Andor's had so much budget. The Mandalorian didn't, you know. It is what it is, guys. So when people say, like, they want good story, do they really want good story? No. They want to be entertained, and they want to like the show. And I don't think good story is the same thing as being entertained and liking the show. You know, that's really what I believe. That's genuinely how I feel. It's not the same thing. Bro, Dyad is a goated channel. Yeah, they are the legends, man. By the way, you guys just got to shout out Element. Look at you. All the good stuff in the chat. Hell yeah, man. Yeah, I'm very lucky to have everybody inside this chat. My boys Starlight podcast as well. Yo, Aiden, thanks so much for coming to the stream. Everybody, welcome Aiden with a ready up. It says, how's it going, fam? Just wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a happy life day, and love the vids. Keep it up. Thank you so much.
Last you have arrived.
Appreciate you. All right, so we're getting into the second thing here today. Let's get to the camera, scene, Fortnite. Okay, here we go. All right. Star Wars Starfighter has wrapped filming, releasing in theaters May 28, 2027. I'm hyped. You guys cannot bring me down. I'm so excited for this goddamn film. Genuinely, I feel that this show is going to be this movie is going to be so good. I feel like this movie is going to be peak, man. I've already told you how I feel. I just feel like outside of the director, I just think everybody a part of this right now is just so good, you know. But I don't know. It's Star Wars at the end of the day, so anything's possible. What can happen will happen, which means if this movie can be bad, it can be bad. But I'm just not getting the vibe right now, man. I'm not getting the vibe. You guys can be cautiously optimistic. I'm going to be optimistic as AF, okay? I'm going to be so freaking excited that when I go to Down Disney, they're going to have to freaking strip me to make sure that I have no freaking weapons that turn into some excitement crap, because I'm going to be running around the whole freaking stadium and stealing people's licorice because I'm going to be that hype. They're going to ask me if I did something before, if I took some narcotics or some drugs, because I'm going to be so goddamn hype. I'm going to be sweating like I just did crack or something, okay? I am so excited for this shit, dude. You have no idea, man. God, I really cannot explain how excited I am for this stuff. I think this movie's going to be very good. I'm just getting a very Rogue One vibe from it. Like when I first saw Rogue One and The Mandalorian, I was like, this shit's going to be good. I don't think people know how good this is going to be. And that's how I feel right now, man. As soon as I saw that first trailer, the first photo, sold me, man. Got it, dude. I'm very excited. Star Wars News Net Videos. Thanks so much for coming to the stream, everybody. Welcome Star Wars News Net Videos with a ready up. Says, this movie is going to ignite a new fever in the fandom. It's going to rock. See? That's the type of level of hype and energy I appreciate. Thank you. You know, it could be trash, though. It really could be. You know, I could be coming back after this, and you guys are like, that movie was shit. But I don't feel that way right now, man. I really don't, you know. I think that movie's gonna be like solid, dude. I think that movie's gonna be very good, but we will have to see. Dying in the Force says, as I said earlier, the state of the world, boycotts, world events can make or break the success of this movie. Yes, I agree. I agree. But it's already filmed, you know, and they reshot stuff. So I don't know, man. I think we're sitting pretty right now. We just have to wait for this stuff to happen, you know. Who knows, man? Like, genuinely, like, who knows? Oh, man. What I'm really... I know this is so stupid, all right? But I gotta let you know, okay? I get really excited for, like, what the next Star Wars popcorn box is gonna be, okay? Because I live right by Disney Springs. And they always have this giant poster, and everybody's always posing with their friends and their girlfriend. I literally go over there with my phone and try to post it up myself. And I will, dude, I am doing the craziest poses. Like, you know, I'm doing all this shit all by myself. And I will never forget when I did that and everybody was laughing at me for The Rise of Skywalker. I didn't give a shit, bro. When I get hype, you can't stop me, baby. Okay, I was getting so hyped, and I cannot wait, bro. I'm literally thinking about getting Mando cosplay and just walking in Disney Springs as the Mandalorian and just going in there and watching the movie like that. I don't care. I'll do it, bro. This dude, tomorrow is not granted, bro. I could die tomorrow, man. You know, movies will be gone. Something. You guys know me. You guys know I get hyped as hell. You guys know I'm cringe as fuck. That's why I was put on Nerderotic's channel. And he called me the shill. That is the reason why Disney makes slop. Because my hype ruins Star Wars, baby. That's what it is, man. Yo, dude, that's a crazy title. The Star Wars excitement that that ruins Star Wars. Oh my god, dude. It's amazing though. I don't know, man. I cannot not get excited, you know. I'll let them cook before we taste it. Oh, dude, I'm already ready, dude. Yes, fans having fun ruins the thing. It does, man. How dare you appreciate it, dude? Jesus Christ. That was the same thing though in the prequels. I always try to tell people too, man. I was just like, dude, after I saw Revenge of the Sith, like there were so many people at my school that just like they hated Hayden Christensen. They wanted George Lucas to sell Star Wars. And I was like, dude, I literally remember it like it was yesterday. You know? But it is what it is. Yeah, Diane says, I hope Starfighter has Skeleton Crew flavor to it. I do love that vibe. It was very, very fresh. I would like a more mature Skeleton Crew. I like Skeleton Crew. It was a good show and fun. But that was it. Like, I just thought that was it. And I don't think it's bad, you know. It's just, you know, I like what I like, man. That is what it is, dude. That's how it is, dude. All right, TikTok, y'all. I really appreciate you, but we are going to do the rest of the stream on YouTube in the Dark Temple, so make sure you come over here. Stu fam, I'm going to take your question, and I'm going to bring it over to YouTube Live. So thank you so much, guys. Make sure you follow, and I will see you around. I'm actually hyped for Mando and Grogu and the new Rey film. And, dude, I love that. I'm so hyped for you, fam. I'm hyped for anything Star Wars. Is there anything that I've been, like, not hyped for Star Wars? Oh, well, I could say that... No, I was excited for Outlaws. I was pretty excited. I will say that I was very nervous about The Rise of Skywalker. But I was still excited for the event. Because it was a new era for me, you know? And it sucked that it was the last movie. But I just felt empty after the movie. But the events and the build-up, I always get excited for. You know, I think that's the best part about it, is when a Star Wars movie is coming out, especially one you're excited for, I can't get the same energy for anything else, like Marvel or, you know, I like Marvel. It's entertaining, but it's not Star Wars to me. Lord of the Rings will be really cool again, you know. Yeah, but Star Wars is a different feeling, guys, you know. I'm very excited for The Ninth Jedi. I love both episodes. Yeah, man. I can't wait for you to see the Ninth Jedi series. I'm hearing some things about the Ninth Jedi series. You know, because I may dabble. But just how I told you, Star Wars Visions Volume 3 was going to be the best volume. I don't know. Maybe Ninth Jedi surpasses that. You know? I'm just saying. It's possible. But what do I know? All right, let's get to the next take, baby. Let's get to the next take. So, I thought this was really interesting, and I like talking about these things with you guys. So, it says, Darth Sidious is overrated. If anything, the sequel trilogy is what made him OP. Just finished a holiday rewatch, and this man is just a failure when you think about it. Over 1,000 years of Sith planning for like 20 in power. Not to mention, none of the successes were his plans. If he doesn't kill Plagueis, they are probably in a far better position to control things. His big idea, the outright Empire and the Death Star, is what sank them. This is only really altered when you see this man attacking the entire fleets in the sequel trilogy. In the sequel trilogy. In the sequel trilogy. I just have to disagree. Like, I have to disagree. I like... In my opinion, I think Darth Sidious is actually underappreciated because of so many people watching the original trilogy and thinking that he's not powerful because the movie doesn't show how powerful he is. The next comparison, of course, would be like Vitiate in the Old Republic, where it's a video game and books, and you can understand like what's actually happening because the writers have way more freedom because it's the expanded universe. And there's already like 40 plus years of Star Wars abilities and things that they are using as a foundation to build their inspiration on in their stories. In my opinion, there are only two Dark Lords of the Sith that are the most powerful of all time. And it's Darth Vitiate and Darth Sidious. You know? I think that when someone says that Darth Sidious is only powerful because of the sequel trilogy, I think they're either only watching the movies, which is fine, and they haven't read the Dark Empire, where the Dark Empire series is insane. Like everything that Vitiate does, everything that Nihilus does, takes direct inspiration from the Dark Empire series, because Sidious did it first. Sidious was written far long before these characters. The Dark Empire series was written far away, even before Knights of the Old Republic was conceived, you know. And Nihilus is a fraction of that power. And Vitiate started those things. And Vitiate only was able to get that power because he needed assistance and then became who he was. Darth Sidious did that shit alone. I think anyone that kind of hates on Sidious doesn't truly understand what he did at Biss. Doesn't truly understand that Force Storm, which was, by the way, a Jedi ability, a light-sided ability, until they realized that it creates ripples in the whole freaking time system. The fabric of space and time is literally breaking because someone's using it. And that's what Darth Sidious did. In its base form, what I'm saying by base form, in its weakest state, Force Storm was destroying surfaces of planets and entire fleets. And that's what Sidious was doing in his sleep. Darth Sidious is one of the most, if not the most powerful Sith Lord in all of Star Wars. I think the only person that can really contend with him in all abilities is Vitiate. But that's just how I view. I could be completely wrong, you know. But to me, he's the be-all of Sith Lords. I mean, like, no other Sith Lord literally had the Force directly participate in trying to destroy this guy by Luke Skywalker being the conduit of the Force, by Anakin Skywalker being the chosen one. The Force literally had to come in with divine whatever and stop Darth Sidious from destroying everything, you know? Yes, of course. Yes. Absolutely. Element. I do not disagree with you, especially because what Vitiate does in the later DLCs, which I can't stand, you know? But at the end of the day, it's a video game. You know, so video game characters are always going to be more powerful than what George Lucas did on pen and paper in the 80s, you know? So, yeah, man. But he's insane. They're like, if your most powerful Sith Lords are not Vitiate and Sidious, I don't even know if I should, like, engage with you, you know? And that's just my view. You guys, that's just my view. You know, that's it. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that that's what I believe, you know. That's it, dude. Yes, exactly, Skywalker Academy. Sidious is the devil. And there's a lot of people online that will always talk about, like, well, you know, George Lucas said that because it's the manifestation of, it just means that he's so evil like the devil. It's like, no, dude, the devil's supposed to be like the most powerful evil thing, you know. So that's what I always felt like Sidious was, you know. But at the end of the day, bro, all this shit is made up and we read books. So no one should be taking us fucking seriously, you know. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, man. But I thought that was interesting. I see a lot of Sidious hate. Because I get it, dude. He's an old character, and people like the Old Republic more than they like the movies, especially online. So I get it. Died on the Force says the fact that he concealed himself sitting across from Mace Windu and Yoda is powerful enough. You don't need to see lightning in the sky. I agree with you, but I think that's the problem with a lot of Star Wars fans is they see a character like Nihilus. And they think he's the most powerful Sith Lord ever because he eats planets, but he doesn't even eat planets. He can't even eat all planets. He's only allowed to absorb a tiny fraction of planets. So it's like he's a freaking orca whale, and he's only allowed to eat a certain fish in the entire sea. And then he collapses on himself because he can't even use his power. By the way, most powerful character in Star Wars, right, guys? And that's the problem. Is I think people, they see this, the destroying planets as the most powerful thing when the Force is so much more than that. And I think that's the issue with understanding fundamentally like the Force and powers. Leon says, what if someone used magic against a Force user? Like, what if someone like Marin fought Darth Vader? Technically, she's not using the Force. So, I don't know. I mean, like, and Daya can call me out here, too, because Daya knows. So, I'm actually sitting on it right now with my mic. So, the I-Core, okay, that is essentially what is a part of this Night Sister magic. And Mother Talzin in that book is talking about how the Jedi think the dark side is bad, but a lot of the I-Core power comes from that. It's a very interesting look on how it's tweaked. And I would even argue that the magic is also a variant of the Force. It's just not something that the Jedi really understand. And you have to understand too is that Darth Sidious was not necessarily scared, but saw Mother Talzin as a threat, which is why he decided to kill her and take her out. So I think that says a lot about Night Sister magic and its connection to the Force and whatever abilities that it has too, because Sidious was a huge enthusiast with like Sith ritual, right? And I think those rituals and the alchemy is what's next to it. I think it's that Night Sister magic, man. I think there's a lot of really interesting things about Star Wars, and I think the Night Sisters is something that evolves the Force even more, and I think that's what's so cool about that. Because talk about the Acolyte again, right? The Acolyte mentioned is one of the things I think that show did really well was actually the depiction of other religious cults and their view of the Force. A lot of people got really upset about that. And I thought that was one of the main things not to get upset about, because that's the entire point, is that all of these religions in the universe of Star Wars have their own depictions of the Force. And guess what? They're all wrong. That's the whole point. It's not a thread. It's not an I-Core. It's all different. It's the Force. That's the whole point. No one is right. Everybody's fucking wrong. And it was just so crazy that people got so upset about that, because I actually thought that was one of the things that they executed well on, is the understanding of these witches who have their own view of how the universe works, and then their own planet that's influencing their views and skewing or distorting their perception of how the Force actually works. But I don't think anything particularly would happen against Vader. He would probably just destroy them. He's kind of a tank with a lot of these characters that are not on his level. But I think that these characters would give him a run for his money, especially when it's the first time he encounters these things. I think a really good example of that is probably the new book that just came out, Master of Evil, where you get to see some really cool shit. And I don't want to spoil it for you, but you can see how Vader handles some things that he isn't quite necessarily experienced with. B-Rad says, see, I totally thought the same thing. But that's the thing, though, B-Rad, is not everyone's going to be open-minded. You guys know I am not a fucking shill. You guys know I do not like stuff, But I am just way more understanding about shit, and I don't like to hate people, Listen, okay? I'm an asshole, but I'm not the biggest asshole, I know I got flaws, because I'm an Anakin Skywalker fan. But I'm so goddamn self-aware. I know when a mistake is something that I fucked up on, you know? And when I see people hating a show that I also don't like, but then I see them take it in this wacky-ass direction, it's just like, dude, like, this is why I didn't like the show, you know? Because I didn't like the focus of the twins. I didn't like all the Jedi. It was promoted to be a Sith show, and it wasn't. It was a Jedi show, you know? I don't know, man. I think that people have a very clear agenda when it comes to certain things, and I would argue that some of them don't even watch the show. You know? Like, I think that they don't actually absorb what's happening in the show, you know? And that's why no matter what anything comes out, it's always doomed, which is why we'll probably never get any production ever again like Andor, ever again, you know? Yeah, man, it sucks. Or like Black in Star Wars Visions Volume 3, which is something you guys gotta go see. Leon says, so would Anakin at his full potential be able to use it, be invulnerable to it? Anakin at his full potential is probably a god. I wouldn't say that he's probably on the level of like of his Force Ghost character, but Anakin, if he actually did whatever his potential was going to be, he's basically Superman of Star Wars, because George literally thinks that he kills the Emperor and then becomes the Emperor of the universe, you know. So whatever you think Anakin can do is probably something he could have done, but he was a dumbass that couldn't control his emotions, and he's my favorite character, but he is a dumbass, but he is my favorite character, you know, so it is what it is. Skywalker Academy says, the reason I loved The Village Bride, amazing, was partially because of how Magina was another depiction of the Force and how it relates to the Force. Yes! Magina, may you rise. The Village Bride, and also, I don't know if you guys have seen Volume 3, with F's journey, which is amazing. I actually think it's better than the first one. And your boy got to see that years before it came out. You know? So, I love exactly what you're talking about, because I think that's where Star Wars needs to continue to go. You know, I always tell you guys, like, Ahsoka is my favorite show. It doesn't mean it's good. It's just my favorite show. And it's one of my favorite shows because it does things that I like. Anakin Skywalker, hoo-hoo, yeah, baby. And then going out of the universe. Going out of the Star Wars galaxy and expanding the universe. Like Outbound Flight, one of my favorite books, okay? And then you start to see the Witches of Dathomir and where which planet is. And then in the behind the scenes, it talks about how, like, dude, some of the devices here are, like, more ancient than the Jedi. You know, like, the beginning of, like, the creation of the universe, you know. And it's only said once, and Dave says it to one of the prop guys that's making it. And it's really interesting because, yes, what is this depiction? What is this? What are these new words? Is this a Zepho thing? Is this Rakana? Is this, you know, the Gree? What's going on here, you know? And I think that's what's really cool about Star Wars is we've been playing, in the movies at the very least, in a galaxy. And a galaxy is a part of a universe. So if we go to these other galaxies, are there other orders of the Force? Are there entire galaxies taken over by the Sith? Or something far worse, you know? And maybe the Jedi isn't necessarily tapped into the light side as much as we thought they would be, you know? That's the type of stuff that I would be putting in pitches, and maybe I have already. But if that stuff is something that they are thinking about, I know Dave is thinking about it because he, in my opinion, gets it. Even with all the criticism a lot of people give him, I think he gets it, you know. That's why I liked Ahsoka, because it was going in a direction that I liked. Just lacked a lot of execution, you know. But we'll see, man. Ahsoka Season 2, crossing my fingers, hoping it's going to be good. Diana the Force says, speaking of magic, in Battle Scars, Marin talks about... Battle Scars, that's the book, right? I couldn't finish that. Marin talks about overusing it causes pyrolysis, is that what it is? I hope I said that word right. And it's an indirect dark side corruption because they are still channeling the Force. Interesting. So it's like they couldn't. Wow. So it's like they're just like they're plugged into it the entire time and they can't stop. That's interesting. Which is why in the Jedi game, Merrin often carries relics and artifacts with her. She says on Bogdan that she can't connect to this planet the same way she connected that she did Dathomir. Interesting. That's really cool. Yeah, man. See, that's the type of shit that should be in these shows, you know. But I hear that Lucasfilm really what is the word? Discriminates, I think is a good word. I think that they discriminate against different types of media, especially their own. This person only did a book. He cannot do animation. This person did a video game. He should not be doing live action, you know. And I've heard that they do not like that a lot from some people. So I don't know, will this stuff ever catch fire and become a part of live action? Because I think that's where it needs to go, you know. But at the end of the day, you know, like live action rules and movies rule the entire franchise, guys. So I don't know when we are going to see these things be a part of it. But 2026 is looking like a good year for Star Wars, y'all. And I am very excited, man. I hope you guys are excited too. Do you guys have any other questions before we head out here? It is 9:02. It is the day before holidays. By the way, guys, I did want to say one thing because y'all know that it's the holidays. So, you know, if you can, just go out there. Make sure your boys are all right. You know, if you're not feeling too good, reach out to someone because I know it's absolutely one of the hardest times of the year. And if you think someone needs some help or something, please reach out to them. Let them know there's people that want to listen to them and hear them talk, guys, because that's always important. Sometimes they need to hear that, all right? Diana the Force says, I'm excited for Balin's continued journey because I do think that is where we'll explore more of the Force. I cannot wait for that, dude. I heard when Dyad kind of knows about the stuff that I did behind the scenes, but I did hear some stuff that I we'll see. I'm excited for, but you guys know I'm usually the outlier. So Leon says, what if the Knights of Ren are ancient undead warriors kept alive through the dark side, like with the mask of Lord Momin? That'd be pretty cool, but I doubt it. I doubt anybody put that much thought into them. I think they're amazing, and I think that we need more of them. I would actually pitch a Knights of Ren show right before the Rise of Skywalker. But it looks like Legacy of Vader has been doing a lot of that stuff, and that is a great comic. You guys got to read that comic. That is some very good shit. I know that you guys don't like the sequel trilogy, but man, dude, there's some good continuity in there, man, with Kylo Ren. Oh my gosh, dude, I love that stuff. I hope that series goes on forever, dude. I love it so much, man. Oh, dude. Knights of Ren only go back a few centuries according to the source books, but an ancient iteration of them could definitely exist. And Smilo Ren is right there. Smilo Ren is right there, man. But where's my boy? Can I please, guys?
Mando!
Mando! I love Smilo Ren. We're never going to see him again, dude. It would also explain why their masks to cover up their bodies. Yeah, they're cool, man. I love them. I love them so much. But thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you all. I hope you guys go and do your things. Be happy. Enter the Discord if you haven't already. It's inside just about every single bio and link in the channel. And every single short is Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It streams at Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you have friends, because I don't have too many, but everybody that I do have is inside the stream. So if you have other friends, go and let them know that this guy is talking about Star Wars and he kind of knows what he's talking about, okay? In the meantime, I'll see you around. I hope you have a good freaking Christmas. And if Santa doesn't come around, you let him know. And I'll freaking go and I'm going to beat his ass so he gives you some Christmas. Anyway, coming into the Dark Temple. Visited by Mara Jade, Luke Skywalker, and Kyle Katarn, and so many of the Force sensitives like yourselves.
They all hate you, man.
I am Lord Dagovere, and I'll see you around. Deuces!